Welcome back. It's still Morning Rush on Metro Television. We are live on DSTV channel 277, live on Facebook, and YouTube is Metro TV Ghana. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Metro TV_GH. This morning I have a gentleman and a lady here, and the gentleman is Derek Tego, who is the communications and fundraising leader for AHOY Africa. He's going to tell us the full meaning of that, and also Ethel Nanaya Amwa Bafo, who is also the leader and also gender and social protection. Good morning, lady and gentlemen.
Good morning.
How are you?
Doing very well.
It's good to have you here. You see, there was a gentleman, my co-host, or team menstruation with Johnny, but the gentleman is here. So Desmond, learn from Derek. When you hear menstruation, don't run away. Stay here. But then AHOY, what's the full meaning?
Well, so it's advancing and harnessing opportunities for the youth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we are an NGO. I mean, originally created to like the name, advance and harness opportunities for Africans youth. Started with Ghana, and then we cross over to the entire continent.
Yeah. Entire continent. How long has it been established?
Oh well, we little under 2 years.
Okay.
Little under 2 years.
But then the work has been
the works.
Yeah,
we've been really active in the media space, and even with some of the interventions that we are doing. Yeah.
Wow, that's a good initiative. That's good. Now let's start talking about period poverty and why the need for such conversation.
So basically, when you talk about period poverty, we're talking about the absence of clean and hygienic menstrual products for young girls or for women.
Okay.
And then lack of access to proper disposable. And then we talk about not having access to change rooms.
Okay.
So these are the constituents of period poverty. So basically, that is period poverty.
Yeah.
And period poverty affects girls in so many ways. And sometimes, if you talk about this, those of us in Accra feel we have advanced so much
so we are okay.
We are okay. I mean, this is not a problem.
Yeah.
You guys are creating your own issue. But the truth is, a lot of girls in Accra, even in Accra, are missing school on several occasions. And this is because they don't have access to the hygienic products you are talking about.
True.
Period products can be disposable, can be menstrual cups, can be tampon, it can be cloth pad. So if girls don't have access to this, then it means that they are not going to school.
Yeah.
Because if I am in my period right now and I don't have access to any of these clean materials, I can't come and sit here. Like,
That's
how
true.
Comfortable would this be?
That's true.
Imagine asking a girl to go and sit in the classroom without this, or even using T-roll.
Yeah.
So even if she's able to go to school in T-roll, it means that all her attention is going to be on herself.
Yeah, making sure that
I don't want to solve myself.
Yeah. Even how you sit silent.
You should, to be careful. You just want to be careful.
Yeah.
Because you share a classroom with boys, and that is another big deal. Exactly. Yeah. So these are the challenges that most girls are going through, and even in the schools. Saw yourself in the school, and it's a big problem. Yeah. Because there's no sanitary left for you to use. Yeah. There are no change rooms, except few schools I've seen they've built a change room. So if you saw yourself and you go to the washroom to change your pad, that is it. Yeah. But there's supposed to be a change room where girls can even wash down.
Oh,
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the change room. I mean, where girls can wash down, where they can even rest when they are going through cramps.
Have a normal table where you can do your stick-on properly.
Okay. Where in the washroom, someone is there waiting for you to. You just
in between your legs, the pants is there. Then you are struggling to. I get it now. I get it now. Even in school, I remember JHS, there was a sanitary pad company that came to talk to us. When we're leaving, we were given extra pads to go and use. The guys were actually in the classroom waiting for us to just laugh at us. Exactly. And they were actually laughing. If you send a guy to go into your bag and to pick a book and there's a sanitary pad, oh my, that's like a major problem. And they tend to, at that time I think the education wasn't that enough. So people really didn't understand. Even though boys, we do study, at that time it was social studies, poverty rights, menstruation and other things. The education wasn't enough. But then before I come back to Derek, Nana, what is causing these problems? These period poverty, the problem, what is contributing to that factor?
One, you can talk about financial constraint or poverty. Because if you come from a home where access to 3 square meal is a big deal. In a home, your mom can afford breakfast, sometimes no breakfast, or just lunch or supper. The money there is for food. So if you are asking that we buy the sanitary, you are not eating. So obviously people will go for the stomach against the sanitary pad. So poverty is one of the biggest challenge. Because now menstrual products are also very expensive.
20 Ghana cedis, depending on the brand you go for. But
and if you have to even use 2, like 40 Ghana, 40 Ghana for sanitary pad.
Every month.
It's a big deal. And the double sizes are almost 40 cedis.
Now calculating how you've been spending it. So apart from money,
poverty, and there are no policies. So in a country like Ghana, where in most rural communities, now the new norm is sex for pad, where girls are now exchanging sex for sanitary pad. So in countries like this, so I remember one of the governments introduced the sanitary pad project where they were donating free sanitaries to girls. And of course, welcome to Ghana, where we politicize everything. So it became a challenge, and then we had to stop. This was some of the initiatives that were supposed to be ongoing, and so that girls will not miss school in times where they need these sanitary pads. So the lack of access of policies. There's nothing like that. Another thing is the tax on sanitaries. Tax on sanitaries is another big deal. I mean, how can you tax my pad? Something I cannot live with. Why are you taxing it? But they tax it and they make it extremely expensive.
They think it's luxury.
It's like
part of the luxury goods.
I don't understand.
How can pad be luxury? But in a country where everything, like you said, is politicized, is the money aspects that they are looking at. And the problem is what I always say, what always hurts me the most, is the fact that then they should go and tax condom too. That's good.
If they tax condom and they are taxing sanitary pad, I'm okay.
That's fine.
But not to tax condom, condom is optional. I can decide to use condom or not. I'm not using it. But if you ask me, I can't decide to use sanitary or not.
It's mandatory.
I have to.
Derek, let me come to you. Let's talk about the stigmatization with all this, like the example I gave. How is it affecting individuals that are being stereotyped, that are being stigmatized because of these issues? Even if we don't see it in Accra, I'm sure your NGO has been to the rural areas and you see the effects there more. How is the situation being handled?
Well, first of all, we'll have to talk about performance and how the entire situation affects the performance of girls in schools. Now, in 2019, Waterhead conducted a survey and found out that in the rural areas, 70% of girls miss school 5 days in a month because they are menstruating. Wow. So that alone gives you the general effect of not having access to sanitary products and how it affects girls' performance. So we're looking at it from that angle, and for me as a man, I'm speaking for myself as a man, it's always about the conversation, how we stereotype it, like you said. So you see, conversations around menstrual hygiene and menstruation has really been limited to the background. So let me give you an example. My sister, I stay with my sister, my little sister. She, usually she asks for stipends and all that. And whenever it's time for her to, it's that time of the month, whenever she wants money, she doesn't necessarily tell me what she wants to use the money for, but she goes on to say, I need money. So one time I sat her down and I said, what do you need money for? She said, oh, it's a girl's matter. It's a girl's affair. And I'm like, what's that? So won't understand. I didn't understand it. And so it was then that I kind of really got a whole picture. She felt uncomfortable talking to me about this. And it was not really just about her. It's about how society have framed the issue. Now imagine our home, say if we are able to constantly, occasionally talk about menstruation, talk about how we can also, how men can also play a role, how we can be supportive to our partners, to our sisters, to our wives and everything. The whole conversation around it will not be limited to the background. It will become a mainstream issue so that, once it becomes mainstream issue, then we are making progress in terms of advocacy and all that. Because right now we are advocating that, for instance, the taxes on menstrual pads, sanitary products should be lifted.
To be taken off,
but you see, if the voice is loud, if the mainstream media comes in, if the voice is loud, if CSOs, if NGOs are coming on board, we will be able to, make its way in that regard. But you see, the whole conversation has been hushed and shushed. You understand me? So the more we broaden the conversation, the more we're able to see the effects, and then we're able to, ensure that girls are comfortable, women are comfortable, performing and going about their duties whenever they are in that month of the period. Oh, sorry, that month, that period
of the month. Yeah. How can, like you've mentioned, the first step is like having like sort of a deba at home, have conversations with among the siblings, let them understand that this and this and this is, so if maybe the siblings are male, female, sometimes it could be all boys, you don't need that conversation, all girls, fine. But if it's the mix, you get to explain to them, make them understand. Moving forward, how can policymakers, how can the community, how can individuals make sure that this conversation has been going on for a long time, it takes effect immediately? How can we do that?
I think we first need to understand this whole idea of menstruation. Yeah. And one of the problem, I think, is lack of education. If someone understands something better, the approach is different. Yeah. This whole thing is the fact that we don't understand.
Understand it, yeah.
So I remember growing up, I grew up with boys. So I'm very comfortable. Like, I'm very comfortable talking about my period and all that. But growing up, I remember in the house, during your period, you pick your part and mommy sees, like, go and hide, your brothers are coming.
I was about to ask you, how did your mom handle it?
That was it from the beginning. Go and hide. So it was always, when I have any form of sanitary close to me, I need to hide when boys are around. Because you have to hide. They shouldn't see it. But if my mom understood from the angle we are talking about now, I think the approach would have been different. She wouldn't have asked me to go and hide. Yeah. She would probably have sent my brothers to get me sanitary. And I remember in school, back in junior and senior high school, the late Atamos brought us this decks where you can lock. Yeah. So I used to keep provisions in there and lock it. And I keep sanitaries too. So there's this guy who used to come to my box to take biscuits and drinks. And the day he came and there was sanitary, he never came to my box to touch anything again.
It's an abomination.
Unused sanitary. Yeah. It was an abomination. Yes. And I was so happy because at least
you've saved my biscuits. Yeah.
And recently when Hilda's challenge was ongoing, at a point we were told that she was in her period. And I saw some tweets, some Nigerian men were saying that, why should you even say she was in her period? You should have kept it to yourself because they were eating the food. Yeah. And they said it was a taboo. Like, whoa. So if you're able to understand the issue that period is normal. Period is something that women are supposed to go through. Because of course, if a woman does not go through this natural phenomenon, that means that childbirth, no. Yeah. And menstruation is basically the release of egg. And the egg is purposely to fertilize the sperm to make a baby. So it means that if the sperm is not fertilized, there should be a shredding or a breakdown. And that breakdown
has to come out
in a form of, is this dirty? It's a question I always ask. Because like, it's dirty, etc. So if you're able to keep the conversation going, get men especially to understand and more involved. Because now they said there are more men in the world than women. In governments, there are more men than women, most of the places. More men own companies employing females. So if men are really involved in the conversation,
they are the frontiers. It makes everything easier.
Yeah. So probably in government, for instance, or in parliament, we have more men. So if our men are able to understand the issue, probably this tax we are talking about,
it will be lifted.
They could have looked at it for us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So the whole problem is the lack of education.
The understanding is in there.
Yes. Yeah. And even in education, we tend to touch on the surface. When you're teaching boys about period, we tend to touch on the surface. Why don't we go deeper?
Exactly.
Have a deeper conversation. Yeah. Because the boy will grow up, boy probably have a sister. He has a school colleague who is a female. He would grow up to become a father. Yeah. He would be a husband. Yeah. So there's this guy who told me about how this lady in the class stopped schooling and eventually became an akpeteshi seller because they laughed at him her in class. She had a period and the whole boys in the class made her felt worse of herself, and she stopped swimming. That was it for her.
I even think recently one of the parliamentarian in one of these countries was Kenya.
Yeah, she actually.
It was just to. It wasn't on purpose.
She did it intentionally as a means of advocacy.
Yeah, exactly. And what happened to her?
She was sacked. Yeah,
she was sacked. Exactly.
And the excuse given that she was not appropriately dressed, I mean, didn't really make sense. I mean, she's an advocate who is championing a cause. And so it really, but I mean, like, that really explains the whole scenario.
That makes you feel that there is a whole lot of education that needs to go down. Sometimes I feel like, oh, is it too late? Can we do better? But it's good to start now. We don't know when it will end, but then it will reap some benefits. Let me come to Derek finally. We're about to wrap up. I know you are doing this awareness. How often do you talk to the media? Because the media can go a long way in helping this, championing this particular cause. Is it going to be a one-time thing annually, or periodically you guys go to different stations to talk to people, make viewers understand that this is what you embark on?
Well, I think if you look at our lineup of activities to celebrate World Menstrual Hygiene Day, there are a list of activities that we are doing. So it's not just a one-day activity. There are, and it's going to be year-long. The advocacy is going to continue. Ethel and her team, I've been championing this cause for the past year or so, and so it's not like we are just doing it just to mark the day. There are a list of advocacies that we are doing, interventions and policy directions that we are looking at in terms of working with other NGOs and majorly stakeholders within government, within parliament. You know, the whole idea is just to broaden the conversation, like you're saying. Once we are able to make it a mainstream conversation, and the media has a big role to play in this. You see, because if the media gives us the opportunity, gives us the platform to talk about these things, and it is in the face of people every day, every second, people will feel more comfortable discussing some of these issues. But then if we don't have support of the media, then it means that it remains a background issue. You understand me? So I think that, like you're saying, friendly media like yourself, like Metro TV, can come on board. Let us advocate and let us advance this conversation. That will create a conducive environment for our ladies and women.
The media can really play a very vital role. I remember growing up, some advocacies they were doing in terms of advertisements. You see, they have this whole advert about cocaine. They'll show if in school your friend, even how to be clean. It was a form of advertisement that was played like continuously on air for people to understand. I think moving forward, we can bring back these things to just make sure that the conversation is broadened and everyone gets to understand. Thank you very much, Ethel Nanaya, Amwa Bafo, and also Derek Tego.
So this time we have series of activities that, just as Derek said. So we are open for sponsorship and partnership. Any individual or corporate organization that wants to support or come on board so that we do this, because I mean, tackling this is tackling a bigger issue.
And
when it comes to period conversation, it's everyone's issue, and not a woman's problem. So we are open. So if permits me to put contact, so contact number is 0555 161603, 0555 161603, or you can go to our website to Ahoy Africa. And if you want to donate, you can donate there as well.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate your time to reach, and nothing but the best.